I just watched through a little over 20 hours of Dragon Ball GT, and folks, it was worth it in the end. In this review, we will certainly touch upon the huge flaws this series has sooner rather than later, but also touch upon the great aspects that this series has to offer. For those new to the channel, I implore you to check out my Dragon Ball Z Kai videos, 2 of them, while also subscribing to the channel. Starting with the Black Star Dragon Ball saga, I have to say this series as a whole does do well to capitalize on the physical Dragon Ball lore in a way you don't really get in Dragon Ball Z Kai. In this way, the series pulls from a very natural element already ingrained in the mythos of the series to set the roadmap for this saga and the Shadow Dragon saga. While I respect the inception of the idea, I must say that one of the series' flaws as a whole comes about rather immediately. We start with Goku and Oob battling at the series' beginning, and Oob seemingly is a natural successor for the overarching plot that is about to unfold, where a set of galactic-level Dragon Balls are used and in an error turn Goku into a child. Seeing as how Goku and Oob were about even in power scaling before this transformation, it would seem natural to have Oob accompany Goku on an outer space adventure to find these Dragon Balls that are needed to save the Earth from exploding. Rather than Oob being the one, we are instead thrust into a team of Goku, Trunks, and Pan. At the outset, this seems okay, as Trunks was awesome in Dragon Ball Z Kai as an adult and as a kid. Pan, like Oob, is a newer character and one that can benefit just as much from the exposure she'll get from being a lead in this saga. Boy, was I wrong. Pan becomes easily the most annoying character of this entire series because she is woefully inept, yet thrust into being in these situations every step of the way. While the series has many flaws against it, the inconsistency on giving Pan screen time, or the inconsistency that is brought about by giving Pan screen time throughout instead of a large cast of characters, is a cardinal sin that has seriously limited the consistency of the series. The Black Dragon Ball saga is filled with B-plot episodes up until we reach Lord Lude, which doesn't happen until episode 9, which only serves to slightly increase my enjoyment of the saga. I will say that from Lord Lude point onwards, the characters introduced are at least interesting and have a look or personality to bring that about. But the series tries to majorly scale itself back from the ending of Dragon Ball Z. I can understand Toriyama's decision to do this, as the Buu saga left things in a place where it would be nearly impossible to start out of the gates more intense than that. But it's another aspect that seriously cripples the beginning of this series. Lord Lude at the start seems interesting, though the doll it turns out to be and the battle and his defeat are very lackluster. Cardinal Muchi Muchi has a seriously cool look and I thought would be a rather solid villain, but the series does away with him very quickly. Master Daltaki or Dalteki is actually a nice, sinister villain who is pretty damn evil. His original motivations seem to make him one of the most interesting characters, but doesn't serve much consequence once he's absorbed into Lude to make him any more interesting after that. The Para brothers are nice B-level characters with a unique power, which was something the series was leaning more into early as the power scaling wasn't too crazy. Ultimately, the first saga was a bit of a letdown, averaging a 5.94 in my rating over 16 episodes, with the highlights being the characters mentioned above. This average rating is solidly below even that of the Raditz Saga and Great Saiyaman Saga from Dragon Ball Z Kai, which were at an average of 6.33 and 6.29 respectively. While the Black Star Dragon Ball saga was a low light, at least is followed up by the Baby Saga, which gets the series back on the right track. The momentum of actually building up credible threats continues immediately in this saga as Goku faces the Sigma Force and then General Rildo. One of the main problems that accompanies the Pan issue.
Hello, Ms. Lady. I think I might be able to help with the Pan-Pam dilemma. Yeah.
Which was seen at the end of the Black Star Dragon Ball saga and is prevalent from here on out, is that the team of protagonists is relatively hapless. Goku is able to handle the Sigma Force eventually, and Trunks is able to pull out his last actually useful maneuver as he tricks Dr. Mew and company into thinking he was frozen like Han Solo, while he hatched a plan to save Goku and Pan whilst unveiling the super dope character of the series, Baby. Logically, it makes sense. Gohan and Trunks would be the brains and Goku and Vegeta the muscle, which is something the series could have leaned into harder, but really only comes to fruition here. The first 6 episodes of the Baby Saga sees some consistency where the series had been deeply needing it, which, if the creative team could have started from here, would have greatly improved the overall quality of the series. After the baby escapes a murder attempt from Goku and company by xenomorphing out of Dr. Mew, we are given a lackluster intermission where the good guys try to save a boy on a broken down ship while locating another Dragon Ball. While these 2 episodes, 23 and 24, are only okay, it gets the baby in a position to actually start to become the main villain hereafter, as he can possess a biological vessel and later infect them to become subservient to him. Episode 25 was the best of the series up to this point, tied with episode 12, which exposed how evil Master Dalteki was while showing Cardinal Muchi Muchi in combat, as we're back on Earth and the baby is possessing humans to fight Goten with. Episode 26 continues the momentum as we have the Saiyan battles between Goten and Gohan as Baby continues to swap to more powerful vessels and level up. The momentum keeps building as 27 becomes the new best episode as we have a fight between Gohan, Goten, and Vegeta where the Tuffle and Saiyan lore is divulged. It is important to note here that the fallout of this battle leads to most of Earth being under Baby's parasitic control. Jumping to episode 29, we have a 10 out of 10 episode for me, dog.
I gave it a 10!
As we see the new form of Baby fight against Goku in an epic battle. The next few episodes are not nearly as interesting as the main focus is getting Goku out of the new dimension he's been stuck in and leveling him up through his tail to battle Baby once again. We then get to see Boo and Oob fuse into Maj Oob after Boo saves Oob in his fight against Baby, where episode 33 hits another 10 out of 10, as we get to see Baby battle Maj Oob, where Baby devours Maj after deflecting one of his attacks, and then Goku jump into the fight after growing his tail. The fight with Baby and Super Saiyan 3 Goku is tremendous, but the Golden Ape transformation is what puts this episode into the 10 out of 10 stratosphere. In the episode that made me happy, I stuck with the series. The next episode focuses on Goku trying to learn to control his transformation into the Golden Ape, where he then achieves Super Saiyan 4 status, which leads into episode 35, where Bulma focuses Blitz waves on Baby, trying to turn him into a Super Saiyan 4 as well, and works because he becomes a great ape, thus giving him a chance against Goku. Worth mentioning, Bulma is under the parasitic control mentioned earlier. Episode 36 is another 10 out of 10 where Goku he battles the more powerful Great Ape Baby and must take direct hits to save the Earth from Baby's destruction. We then get a subplot where Kibito Kai goes to the lookout for sacred water to cure those under Baby's parasitic control. This plus Maj Oob's help from inside of Baby after he'd been eaten give Goku enough time to be powered up by Trunks, Gohan, Goten, and Pan after they were saved by Kibito. And I'm speaking of Trunks, Gohan, and Goten as being saved by Kibito, as Pan was not under his control. We then get a final showdown between Goku and Baby where Goku has the upper hand, absorbing Baby's revenge death ball, cutting off Baby/Vegeta's tail, and destroying Baby and his ship as he tries to escape in a dope-ass death, and another 10 out of 10 episode. In a weird timeline premise, it's revealed the Earth will explode in 2 weeks because the Black Star balls were used by Baby, and it's nearly been a year since the original wish took place. I thought, probably like many, the clock would reset once they were brought back to Earth, but I guess not. To combat this, rather, the team takes humans to Planet Tuffle, which was created with Baby's wish of the Black Star Dragon Balls, and in doing so, Piccolo valiantly sacrifices himself to save humans on Earth. The Baby saga as a whole has an average rating of a 7.71, for me closely matching up with Season 2 of Dragon Ball Z Kai, which was a 7.69 in my rating. The Super Android 17 saga is by far the shortest, being only 7 episodes, but sees Dr. Mew and Jiro team up in a plot to create the most powerful weapon, that being Super Android 17, and lure Goku to Hell, which works. Down in Hell, Goku dominates Frieza and Cell, the only 2 villains left there, while the protagonists deal with all those who had been released before a Hell version of Android 17 and Earth version merge into Super Android 17. Episode 44 is where Goku freezes Frieza and Cell, and Super Android 17 claps those on Earth, in a 10 out of 10 episode for me. We see Piccolo, who is sent to Hell, free Goku in a plot with Dende that works before Goku begins fighting Super Android 17 in Super Saiyan 4 form, where 17 begins absorbing the Ki Blast from Goku in episode 46, another 10 out of 10. The saga ends with Android 18 playing a vital role in keeping 17 occupied so that Goku can punch a fucking hole through his body and finish him off with a Kamehameha. The episode ends with the team trying to fix the planet's instability with the Dragon Balls, which release 7 Shadow Dragons in episode 47, another 10 out of 10. The Super Android 17 saga is by far the best of the series at an average rating of an 8.71, which is close to the Majin Buu saga from Dragon Ball Z Kai, which is rated as an 8.56 in my rating. While short-lived, there was no real dips in quality during the 7 episodes and a lot of nostalgia for fans of Z to take in. I've made this point a lot, but because of what's coming next, I think it's worth restating. Once the power level forces Pan out of the equation, the series seems to be at its best. We then get to the Shadow Dragon Saga, which is the second best of the 4 this series has to offer, where Goku is again tied to the anchor that is Pan. I'm going to sum up the next 8 episodes rather than go in depth because they are okay. It is a major loss of momentum coming off the heels of the baby conflict and then Super 17 battle. We get introduced to 4 dragons, which brings us back to the inclusion of new powers. A pollution-based dragon that weakens Goku and Pan, an electric dragon that zaps the protagonist, a water-based dragon, and then a ground-based dragon, which absorbs Pan. This portion of the series feels like a villain of the week type of pacing, though each is different and unique enough to at least be interesting. Each is dispatched before Goku faces off against Nova and Ice Shenron, who are at least second and third coolest of all 7 dragons. I give the edge to Nova over Ice. Nova is seemingly more benevolent than Ice, who uses underhanded tactics to gain the upper hand on Goku. A twin/sibling rivalry and complete difference in morals leads to Nova freeing Goku when ordered to kill him, which leads to a skirmish where Ice Shenron blinds Goku and Goku punches a hole through ice. When Nova tries to give Goku a cure for his eyes, he is shot down by Sin Shenron, the last and mightiest of the Shadow Dragons, who leaves Goku in peril, unconscious, hanging from a pole in the conclusion of episode 57, another 10 out of 10 episode. Goku is saved by Goten, Majub, Gohan, Trunks, and Pan, who fend off Sin while Goku absorbs energy to get back to Super Saiyan 4 form. While Goku is still blind, he's able to fend off Sin with the additional energy he absorbed by his team and allows him to kind of sense the punches and attacks that Sin is giving him. But Sin counters by absorbing the 6 Dragon Balls nearby to become Omega Shenron, who is absolutely sick. Episode 59, our final 10 out of 10 episode, sees Goku regain his sight in Dragon Fist Omega, which is probably my favorite attack, but Omega is able to regenerate. We then see Goku about to self-destruct in an attempt to defeat Omega because he is outmatched, but Vegeta tells him not to do it as it won't work before he joins the battle, gets blasted by Blitz waves from Bulma to transform into a great ape and finally achieve Super Saiyan 4 status. The Super Saiyan 4s fuse in an attempt to defeat Omega, which has them completely in control of the battle, but unfuse right as they were about to defeat Omega. Realizing the only way to outmatch Omega is fusion leaves Vegeta and Goku trying any tactic to fuse again, but Goku's energies are too low to pull it off. The battle escalates when Nova is released from his Dragon Ball and tries to trick Omega, where he attempts to destroy him with his flame attack. Omega is too smart and powerful for this, however, as he encases himself in Nova's body to avoid any damage. The battle ends nearly comically, though. I did enjoy it, as Goku saves the Earth from a devastating attack that seemingly kills him. As he lays deep within the impact of the attack in the Earth, he gathers a galactic-sized spirit bomb that is used to finally defeat Omega. After the ashes clear, Shenron returns, grants one last wish before he whisks himself and Goku away for a long-ass time. The Shadow Dragon Saga gets an average rating of a 7.88, which compares closely with that of Season 2 from Dragon Ball Z Kai. Now, some overarching points I'd like to make. Goku leaving his family again is so predictable and lame of him that it makes the ending even worse. The recreation of Goku Jr. and Vegeta is just not the same and really makes the retcon they did with Super necessary. The animation style was not something I originally thought to include, but after watching Super is something I miss. The character design and even some of the powers were really thought out. I like Muchi, Baby, Super Android 17, the Golden Apes, Omega, Nova, and Ice. They were all super cool inclusions in Super Saiyan 4, which I'll touch upon a little later. Goku being the only one who could finish off most of the villains really made the rest of the team look weak and useless. Vegeta, while included in some of the best moments by being Baby's host and helping fight off Omega, needed to be in it more. Tagging on to the previous points, the rest of the team was just sidelined for large chunks of this series, which I think hurt it. While the animation of Super is not quite my cup of tea, the decision to start immediately after Z seems already like a better idea than starting off this long after, the way that GT does. Vegeta's mustache was questionable, and the inclusion of Goku's peen was equally, if not more so, questionable. Pan is not a good character. I kept thinking we'd get a Gohan-style level up from her to redeem her, but it never came, and I never want to see her again. The series' slow start nearly bothered me enough to where I considered not watching the rest. Thank God I didn't, as there was actually some great moments from episode 25 onwards. The series is stuck in a weird place where I know Toriyama is frightened by the power scaling, but unfortunately, the storytelling only really gets interesting when the volume is being turned up by a world-threatening villain. Super Android 17 completely redeems Android 17 as a character in my mind from Dragon Ball Z Kai. The Golden Apes and Super Saiyan 4 transformations are really fucking sick. Bulma isn't nearly as annoying in this series as she was in Dragon Ball Z Kai to me. It was very sad to see Krillin as even less of a side character in GT. Piccolo is super badass for just continuing to make sacrifices, becoming maybe the most wholesome and pure protagonist of the series. After how tainted this series made it, I'll be happy to never see a Dragon Ball treasure hunt again. The series seriously underutilizes Gohan, Trunks, and Goten. Their best use was the Baby Saga, and outside of that, they weren't used well. Trunks lost a ton of his luster in the Black Star Dragon Ball Saga. Maj Oob was used but becomes another bench character as the power scaling makes him semi-useless after seemingly be set to be another major character at the onset of GT. The Super Android 17 saga was so short-lived when you consider all the meat on the bone with that. You could have had a full-scale war before 17 was even created on Earth and a heavy-duty battle between Goku, Frieza, and Cell. While this is the best saga of the bunch, it seems like it really dropped the ball in some ways and could have included 10 plus episodes where, the moments were great or better, which would have allowed Goten, Gohan, Trunks, and Majub more screen time instead of rushing through it. The battles on Earth were all short-lived until Super 17 appeared, and Goku outwitting Cell and Frieza wasn't nearly as climactic as it could have been. Why go back to Pan being the sidekick in the Shadow Dragon saga? Her being so underpowered was only ever used to put the team in peril, and that becomes exhausting after a while. While there are some insane moments in the series, I must say it is for the best it's been wiped from the canon of the entire Dragon Ball series. I give Dragon Ball GT a 7.42 out of 10 as a whole, while Dragon Ball Z Kai received a 7.82, it is respectable to be within half a point, all things considered. I hope you like Dragon Ball GT personally if you watched, and I would recommend you watching for some badass episodes if you haven't already. Just keep in mind that the first 20 or so episodes are some of the lowlights of the series. Let me know your thoughts down below, and please subscribe to the channel. I'll catch you on the flippity floop. Bye, y'all.